Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So today is review day for the Kona K2ltsb. So we've got mahogany back and sides, a spruce top on this thing. We've got gold tuning machine heads, plastic nut, very plastic nut. Not sure what the saddle is made out of. Probably plastic too, and definitely plastic bridge pins. This is an electric acoustic, so we do have a 3-band EQ on here for bass, mid, treble control, as well as main, master, volume. Our battery compartment, which houses a 9-volt, does come with one. By the way, take the plastic off first, then you can activate the battery. And of course, a battery test button that you can push to see how strong your battery is. It will likely go off on its own if the battery is too low, or not at all if it's dead. But you should be able to tell that anyways if you're plugged in. Because yeah, you won't get any sound no matter what you do. So anyways, as far as acoustically goes, it sounds fantastic. This is a thin line body too, so it's only about 3 inches thick. It has 4-ply binding around the top, single ply on the back, as well as the neck, and of course the headstock has single ply binding. They've done a lot of amazing work on this. Even the finish job on it, like the lacquer that they're using, is fantastic. No blems anywhere, no runs, no missed spots. They did a really great job. Now, it also does come with 2 pick guards, by the way. So you have your choice of the most commonly seen pick guard out there, and you have a choice of the tortoiseshell coloration in this case. And none of these, neither one, will actually fit this guitar properly around the sound hole areas unless you want to block off 95% of all those rings, in which case it still is not going to fit right. They didn't cut the shape correct. So, completely useless pick guards. But you know what? I think the guitar looks better without the pick guards. So, hey, why do you need one anyhow? So, anyhow, I paid $209 for this on Amazon.ca. It's also a single 1-piece back, by the way. It's not a 2-piece. It does look like it's a 2-piece because of the center strip that they have in here, but it is actually only a single piece back on this. Very well joined with all of the binding on this thing. They did a really nice job, even down to gold strap pin there as well as there. And of course, they've located our jack down in here for being able to plug it into an amplifier or PA system, okay? And you can use, of course, a guitar cable or wireless system, whichever you prefer. I honestly prefer the wireless. And we are going to plug this thing in for you as well. Now, as far as tuning stability goes, these tuners, from what I can gather from sensitivity, though I've not fully tested the ratio, they seem to be about a 14-to-1, which is pretty standard on a cheap guitar anyways. Now, as far as the guitar itself goes, it did have some pretty nasty razor blade frets all the way through the fretboard. And of course, I have all the tools to do this kind of work and complete refretting if necessary on guitars. So I took off about 95% of the edges. I wanted to leave a little bit on for a while because I want the humidity levels to come up. Right now we're only at 31%, which is actually kind of low for humidity. This is getting to be the type of year, summertime now for us in Canada, where, you know, the temperatures are going up, humidity's going up, wood's gonna swell. So you don't want to, you know, cut back all those razors right away. You want to have a chance for the humidity to get at the guitar and swell things up, and we'll probably find that the rest of these razor edges will probably be all but gone. And that's what I'm kind of hoping for. If not, then yeah, it's not going to swell up any further, which means I'm going to have to finish taking off the edges. Now, I did have 2 problems with the neck on this. I had a fret up here that was buzzing, as well as a real nasty one right in here around the 6th. And so I cleaned up the corresponding fret that was causing the problem, only to, of course, you create a new problem. So every other fret had to also be leveled down, or in this case, I just took my crowning tool and just went across just that area that I needed to, because it was only on the high E string where I had that bad spot. and so I had to do every other fret all the way down from the 5th fret down. Turned out in the end I didn't have to touch this end once I adjusted the neck. The neck had virtually no relief in it, and now it's got probably about 10 thousandths relief, which is pretty standard. Still having a pretty low action on it. I was going to change the nut because this kind of a plastic nut is a very soft plastic, so it actually gets cut into by the strings rather easily. So that's something that I'm a little bit concerned about. I do have a bone nut here, but it turns out it's actually too short in height, and of course no way to lift that up. So I'm going to order in probably some graphite nuts or bone nuts that are fully stocked, basically not a blank, but they're pre-slotted, in this case for left-handed, and then I can lower them by sanding them down to exactly where I need them to get the height precise, and then I'll replace the nut. $209, guys. It is $209 after all. And for that to continue on, we do have, and confirmed 100%, these are brass frets. And they seem to be pretty hard brass. Now, if you've looked back on my channel, I got royally messed over once on a Jay Tercer guitar that Jay Tercer was going to come good originally, send me a new guitar till they found out I was in Canada. Said, okay, you got to deal with the distributor there. It's okay, we did that. We even went through the store to do it. They don't want to do nothing, yet it has a 5-year warranty against defects. And even Tercer said themselves in the States, hey, these things aren't supposed to have brass frets. We put nickel frets on. Yeah, well, somebody put brass frets. So you can bet that, to my surprise, we have brass frets here. And I'm kind of like, are these things going to last? I only got about 10 hours on that guitar, and the frets were all but destroyed. They were done for. I've got more than 10 hours in on this thing already, and I haven't even put a mark on a fret. So obviously these are a much harder mixture of brass and probably some bronze in there, something that's getting it really hard, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have some longevity out of these frets. So even though they're brass and not nickel on this thing, yeah, they're actually doing quite well. So let's give you a little bit of a play acoustically, and then we'll plug her in. Still playing with a messed up finger. My second finger, or my middle finger, has been swollen for over probably 2 months almost now, and I'm gonna have to get it checked out soon, I think. But it is making some things hard to do on the guitar all the time. It will loosen up though on me once I get playing, which is nice. But anyways, so that's acoustically. Let's plug this puppy in. So fire up the katana. So we'll start with the EQ right in the middle. Now my Katana amp, everything is centered right now. That's cool. Cheap pickup, and to get everything centered, it looks like that. It's like, okay. get back away from the mic. So, as you can hear acoustically, a little bit of adjustments on the pickup. So to clean that up to about where I like it, that's what we're sitting at for the EQ. And this is kind of a backwards EQ because you go that away to boost and that away to get it near zero to off, or they call it cut on here. Volume control, at least, is the normal way. You know, you just turn it counterclockwise to lower the volume and clockwise turn it up, kind of backwards. Now, it's not an extremely loud guitar, which is kind of nice because it is a thin line, so it's not going to be, as loud as, say, my Taylor or my J200. Okay, I mean, those are obnoxious guitars. This thing is so much more quieter and so comfy, even just to sit with it. Its comfort level is amazing. It's like holding an electric guitar, even though it is an acoustic electric, but it's not much thicker actually than the Gretsch Falcon hollow body, you know. So it's kind of like, this is nice. Now, I've always been leery about buying guitars online. I always tell people don't do it. Now, I still stand by that, especially if you're looking at Gibsons and Fenders and, you know, Taylors, like high-end guitars. Unless you're ordering it from a reputable music store that has a fantastic shipping company that's not going to destroy your guitar like a lot of guys go through because of FedEx in the States, and United States Parcel Service can be pretty nasty to your stuff. We don't seem to have those problems in Canada, or if we do, they're so minuscule we never really hear about them. I've never had a problem with any shipping company, period. But I generally buy all my guitars locally at Long McQuaid and North Bay because they're only a 20-minute drive. And so it's kind of like, well, it's more convenient. And if there's something I want that's not in stock at their store, because not everything Lefty is, I'll get them to bring it in for me. It's not a big deal. And they have their own shipping trucks which care about the packages. So, you know, it comes to the store. It gets to the store in one piece, right? But I think for my first Amazon purchase, it's not going to be my last as far as cheap guitars go. I want to try out a couple of the cheap guitars on Amazon. Not like I need any more because I've already got, this is like, 13, 14 guitars I'm up to now. I'm kind of getting back up to that 17 mark, and I probably will hit beyond 17 before the summer's out. There's still a couple of guitars that I'd like to try out that are cheap left-handed guitars. Now, this is a beginner grade guitar, obviously, and I am an advanced player. However, I think that as far as beginners go, great choice, okay, but just be aware you may or may not have to do some work to it. If you do, it won't cost you that much to have a setup done. A decent setup from a good company shouldn't cost you more than 80, 90 bucks, you know. But if this is what you're after, is this kind of a thin line body, these aren't very common left or right-handed, okay? So that's another thing, right? You're going to spend big money to get a thin line in left or right-handed. I was looking at a Yamaha guitar, which is also no longer produced by Yamaha anymore because it's being left-handed. And the guy wanted 650 bucks, and I'm like, no. So he's like, $5, and I'm like, no. It's discontinued, dude, and Reverb has it for 264. So do the math here. And well, that didn't go over well apparently. So he was a little upset when I told him that that's what they're going for. But hey, you know what? I thought, I can't get it. Fine, it ain't meant to be. There's a reason, right? So. But I thought, well, you know what? For $209, I'm willing to take a risk. And I've seen a lot of YouTube videos, and this is what gets me too, these guitars are being handed out for free to these channels. And I'm not opposed to that. I'm not complaining. You know, I kind of wish some guitar companies would do that for me, you know, because I've had them send me pedals but never guitars. But there's also a video on YouTube about, you know, do YouTube channels get the better quality guitars? Because we're hearing about no fret problems whatsoever, and this and that, and everything's just fantastic out of the box, right? It's kind of like, I kind of wonder. So, you know, ordering one for myself, I can tell you right now, as far as the Kona goes for this particular model in Lefty, yep, it had some razor edges. Yes, I had 2 buzzer spots. One went away up top when I adjusted the neck. The other one had no choice. It had to be taken down, and that meant every other fret after that I had to file them with my crowning tool, and everything was fine. And I only had to do the end section, so that was okay. The other thing I did have to do too was break the nut free and actually shift the nut because they have a misalignment going on in here, and it's actually between the, which two was it now? The E and the A. The A is actually shifted a little bit too much toward the bottom, toward the high E. And of course our high E is actually out a little bit further than what it should be, so I actually had to break it free and adjust the nut back this way and reglue it. Because it's not cut properly. The nut wasn't cut right, which is why I want to buy a high quality nut that is cut right, slam it on there, get everything evened up, and it'll be totally perfect. Right now, it's as close as it's going to get to being, you know, an even amount on either side, which is really good for just a little mild adjustment. But, you know, the thing is, you shouldn't really have to do all of this, even on a $200 guitar. You know, I mean, they did such a nice job. It was like Epiphone, right? With the Melody Maker that I bought, the yellow one. You know, everything was perfect about that guitar. Perfect finish, setup was really good on it, all that jazz. Crummy tuners was the biggest issue. And then, of course, the bridge is just the bridge. I mean, it was workable. It was intonated enough to play, but it could have been better. So I bought a fully adjustable bridge for it. And I upgraded the tuners, and man, the thing is fantastic. What this thing needed was just a little slight neck adjustment, shift the nut, and like I said, I ended up from that buzz spot, I had to file every other fret down below, but that was fine if you have the tools. But if you don't, I mean, you shouldn't be accepting something even with razor blade frets. I mean, this is just totally uncalled for, even on a $200 guitar. Like my Epiphone Melody Maker cost me $200, and those frets are so smooth and beautifully rounded and silky, it's ridiculous, you know, for a $200 guitar. So I think Kona needs to step up the game a little bit on their guitars. It could be I've got a flute too, which is possible, right? I can only go by the experience with the guitar that I actually purchased and have in my hands. I'm not saying this is going to happen to you or the next person or the next person. Maybe you'll get better guitars. Maybe something will be the same or similar problem, or maybe something could be worse. But at least with Amazon, you can always, you know, send it back and have them replace it, or get a refund, find something different. you know, but thin lines in acoustics are very uncommon on the cheap side that's affordable for most people. They tend to be very expensive, hence that Yamaha I was after. But in the end, guys, a little bit of work, not a big deal. It plays great. I would gig live with this, no problem. Even the pickup is more than good enough. And I'm really impressed with these brass frets because I keep looking at them. It's like, did I ding one yet? Have I, worn it down somewhere? And I'm checking, and it's like, no. And it's like, so they're doing pretty good so far. They've passed my approval, okay? For being brass frets, these have passed my approval here. And I just love the sound of this thing. It's just nuts. So, where do we want to put this thing? Well, okay, look at it this way. It's a $209 guitar in Canada. Far cheaper in the US, we know this. Okay, so it's a cheap guitar. Beginner grade? Definitely. Intermediate capability? Yeah, sure, why not? I don't see why an intermediate level player wouldn't play this thing. I'm advanced player, or you could call me a pro player. But you know what? I would gig with this, okay? I seriously would, even without finishing off the edges, because there's barely anything there, and it doesn't interfere with my playing, so, doing bar chords, it goes down nice. You don't have to put a lot of pressure. And I have a light touch as it is. Now, I did change the strings. I put on Dario 1253s onto this, and they work. But it was pretty light, so I don't know if they were like 11s or not. I didn't check the gauge, and besides, I snapped the high E as it was. They were a little rusty, but new guitars have cheap strings. But now this one's got $7 strings that work fantastic. So I think it was worth the money overall in the end. I really do. They did do a really good job on the guitar. The tuners, they hold tune really well. They're cheap tuners, but they do hold tune very well. And they are the sealed type that I like, but these are like the super cheapies of the sealed type, and they do work, okay? I'm probably going to leave them on here for quite a while before I decide if I'm going to upgrade them or not. I want to see how long these frets last first. If the frets do me 6 months and I still haven't destroyed them, then I'll upgrade the tuners. Yeah, I think as far as the star rating goes, I really think we should be putting this thing at about probably reasonably. I'd be going 3.5 out of 5. I think it's fair. 1, not perfect. 2, had to shift the nut. 3, had to file down some frets. This is stuff that you really shouldn't have to do on a brand new guitar. Okay, and of course I had to take down the majority of the razor blades. Because, yeah, if a kid handled this guitar, they'd cut their fingers wide open. They were that bad, okay? Now they're kind of like, they're pretty good. I'm not cutting into my skin, so, I can feel there's still some roughness. But like I said, I'm leaving it that way for the humidity to get at this thing first. So, these guitars are very sensitive to humidity. So with that, I'm out of here. So thanks for watching. I hope you really enjoyed the video and the review. I do still recommend the guitar, but I don't know what you're going to wind up with. I can't say for sure. We order these things online. We see what happens. But like I said, at least with Amazon, there are recourse. You could spend $80 on a proper setup, get the razor blades taken care of, any buzzing spots, have her set up the way you want it to play, and away you go, I would definitely upgrade the nut anyways to either a bone nut or micarta, I think they call it, or even a tusk nut, something that's a little bit better, because this straight out all plastic nut, like I said, it gets cut into pretty easily, so it's not a very strong plastic, but a new nut shouldn't cost you more than like $5-6 anyways. They're cheap. I think I've got some graphite nuts in my shopping list on Amazon for, I think they were like $10 for 2 of them. So, you know, that's cheap. Anyway, like I said, let me know in the comments below. I will have the link, by the way, too, in the comments below if you want to purchase this guitar from Amazon in a left-handed version, because I bought the lefty version, so I'm going to put that link, obviously. But you can also do your own search for Kona guitars on Amazon, see what else they have, maybe something will tickle your fancy. I also like this, too, because it's a cutaway, and I love cutaways. Oh, yes, our other complaint. The pick guards that they supply you are useless. They're not cut right. So there's a couple of things wrong, but little tiny minor things that, you know, in the end, it adds up, you know, but still 3.5 out of 5. That's pretty respectable for this, you know, so it's up to you in the end, right? I can only give you the information that I have based on my purchase, and that's about it. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you're not subscribed, please do so. Smash the bell for notifications, and we shall catch you guys on the next one. See ya!